Hello everyone, welcome to Sentence Diagramming 101. This video is about Chapter 7, Part B. So now we are into the sentence type known as a compound sentence. So a compound sentence is going to have two independent clauses, and you will have either a coordinated conjunction, that's one of your fanboys, or a semicolon in between the two of them. You are not going to have any dependent clauses. You might have some phrases, right, like prepositional phrase, whatever, but you're not going to have a dependent clause in there. If it does, then it's not a compound sentence. It's probably a complex sentence. But we're going to practice some compound sentences in action. This chapter is all about Keanu Reeves, so enjoy that. Now, one thing to keep in mind is you'll see that compound sentences are long. They just keep going. So it's two sentences together with a coordinated conjunction, right? So you're going to have two ideas. You're going to have two subjects. You're going to have two verbs, right? All of this. So your diagrams are going to be much bigger, and your sentence like deconstruction, these paragraphs are also going to be much bigger. So let's take a look at this sentence here. We have Keanu Reeves played John Constantine in the movie Constantine, and then he played John Wick in the John Wick movies. So I know that I have one independent clause. I have Keanu Reeves played John Constantine, and then in the movie Constantine is a prepositional phrase telling me where he played that character. So Reeves played Constantine. So this is a Steve Doe, right? Subject, transitive verb, direct object. Then I have an and, that's my fanboy. And now on the other side, I have he played John Wick in the John Wick movies. So I have he is my subject, played, transitive verb, John Wick is who he played, direct object. And then in the John Wick movies is my prepositional phrase acting as an adverb because it's telling me where he played John Wick. So I've got two sentences, right? Two independent clauses, two icks, and then and is joining them together. So compound sentence. Now, if we look at, you've got number two, right? Or not number two, but the second one on the page. We have Keanu is often seen taking pictures with fans. So he is known for being a nice guy. So let's look at this one. We have Keanu is seen taking pictures, right? So that's my first one, my first independent. Keanu is seen, right? Is seen is my verb, and then seen what? Taking pictures. Is my gerund phrase, but it's acting as the direct object. It's the thing he's seen doing. And then often is an adverb telling me when, right? When does it happen? It happens often. And then with fans tells me what about the pictures, right? What kind of pictures? Pictures with fans. So that is the first independent clause. Then I have a so, that's the S in your fanboys, right? Coordinating conjunction. And then I have he is known for being a nice guy. So he is my subject, is known is my intransitive verb. And then how is he known, right, is a prepositional phrase for being a nice guy. So for being a nice guy, for is my preposition. But the object of the preposition here is actually being a nice guy. So being a nice guy is a gerund, right? Gerund phrase. So being is the gerund, and then guy is the object of the gerund being. So that is my second independent clause. Now let's practice a little bit more. While we're here, just remember compound sentences, you have a comma between your clauses. It's always going to be before your fanboy. If you don't have two subjects, like if I had these, this is my subject, and it just said but prefers and there was no he, then this would not be a compound sentence, because you would have this compound subject over here, but you wouldn't have two separate subjects. So what makes a compound sentence is that you have an independent clause to the left of the fanboy and also to the right. Okay, so this sentence is also different though because you have a compound subject, right? You have swinging a sword and shooting a gun. Those are both the subjects. They happen to be gerunds. And they are skills. So this is a linking verb are, and then skills is my subject complement. And then those are skills. What kind of skills? They are skills that are displayed. So that is a participle describing the skills. And then how are they displayed by John Wick? So adverb, prepositional phrase here. So that's got a lot of things happening, but they're all things we're familiar with. So what you're going to notice a lot in chapter 7 and 8 and 9 is that we're going to do similar things. We're just going to keep combining them because English is wonderful for its ability to allow you to keep adding more information to a sentence, and you just use different structures to do that. So we have one sentence, one independent clause. It contains a gerund, two gerunds, right? It has a participle. It has a prepositional phrase. So you got a lot of things that are just stacking up. But moving on to the second part of the sentence, we found our but, that's our fanboy. And then he prefers what? Using a gun. And then why is he using that gun, or how is he using that gun? So using a gun, my gerund phrase, is my direct object. And then to vanquish his enemies, we've got an infinitive happening here. Object of the infinitive is enemies. And that whole thing is telling me how he uses the gun. So it's an adverb. So that whole thing's kind of broken down here. And we've got one more. You can enjoy watching Keanu Reeves in action movies, or, right, that's my fanboy, you can appreciate his acting in other movies like Dracula or Destination Wedding. If you haven't seen Destination Wedding, it is interesting. But you, subject, can enjoy, and then that's my transitive verb. And then what can you enjoy? Watching Keanu Reeves. So gerund, acting as my direct object with the object, Keanu Reeves. And then where, in action movies. So that's my prepositional phrase, acting as an adverb because it tells me where. And then or, fanboy, new independent clause. You, subject, can appreciate. Transitive verb, what can I appreciate? His acting. So again, a gerund. And now we're into prepositional phrase. In movies, other movies. And then which movies? The ones like Dracula or Destination Wedding. This diagram is going to take up a lot of space on your paper. So you're going to start needing a lot more room when you are diagramming compounds because they go down and they just keep sort of building on top of each other. Okay. We've got a couple more. Oh, Bill and Ted. Yeah. So Reeves portrayed Ted in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure in 1989. And now I've got a semicolon, but it doesn't matter. It works the same way as a fanboy. Comma and the semicolon perform the same function when they're in between two independent clauses. So first sentence, Reeves, subject, portrayed, transitive verb, Ted, direct object. And then in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure tells me where, and then 1989 tells me when. So these are both adverbing. And then he, subject, revisited, transitive verb, the role, direct object, the thing he revisited. And then again, in 2020's Bill and Ted Face the Music. So that's a prepositional phrase acting as an adverb telling me when the revisit happened. And then both Keanu Reeves and Halle Berry starred in John Wick 3. So furthermore, we haven't had one of these yet. We got a little furthermore action. Furthermore is a conjunctive adverb. It does the same thing when you have a semicolon. A lot of the time you can throw a furthermore, consequently, however, on the other hand, all that kind of stuff that goes in the middle here is a conjunctive adverb. And you diagram them. We'll show you in a minute, but it's very familiar. You've seen this before. But this one, we've got both Keanu Reeves and Barry. We got a compound subject happening here. And then both and is my correlative conjunction. It's connecting. And then they starred where? So starred is intransitive, and then where? In John Wick 3. So adverbing. Then they trained, so again, subject intransitive, and then with the dogs tells me how they trained, and before filming tells me when they trained. Filming is a gerund, got some other things happening there. Now, you may also have more than one. You may have 2 or 3 compound sentences. Just keep going. So we actually have 3 independent clauses here. So we have Reeves was born in Lebanon. That's our first sentence. But he moved to Toronto with his mother and sister. So that's our second clause. And he started to play ice hockey. That's our third. So you just keep breaking it down, right? Reeves was born, subject, intransitive verb, in Lebanon, where, adverb. But he moved, right? Subject, intransitive verb, to Toronto is where, and then with his mother and sister's house, so adverbing. Third independent clause, right? And he started, what did he start? Oh, to play hockey. So this is my direct object. But we have an infinitive phrase acting as my direct object, hockey being the object of the infinitive to play. So it just keeps going. Neo mastered the rules of the Matrix. Trinity faced her fears about her feelings, and Morpheus never wavered in his belief. So again, we have 3. Neo, subject, mastered, transitive verb. What? The rules. The rules of the direct object. And then of the Matrix were what rules? So that's an adjective. Trinity, subject, faced, transitive verb, fears, direct object. And then what kind of fears? Her fears about her feelings. So again, adjective. And then Morpheus, subject, wavered, intransitive verb, never, adverb. When did he waver? Never. And then in his belief would be where. Where would the wavering have occurred? If it had occurred, would be an adverb, prepositional phrase. So we just happen to have 3. So it's ick, right? If you look at it. Now, when you are diagramming, you literally do the first sentence and then you do the second sentence and then you join them with a dotted vertical line, a solid step where you write your coordinating conjunction. You write your for and not, wow, nor, but. Try to put two of those together. Or yet so, you write them on this little horizontal line and then another dotted line, and they go verb to verb. And that's how you diagram a compound sentence. So if we go back to this Keanu Reeves, we have Reeves played Constantine where, right? He played John Wick where, and then we just do an and in between. So what you're doing is just taking sentences that are pretty basic, sentences that you're familiar with diagramming, and then you stick them together because that's what you've done when you make a compound sentence. Moving on, if we've got Keanu taking pictures, we're like, he's seen, taking. So we got a gerund here, right? But nothing crazy. And then so he is known for being a nice guy. So in the first one, the gerund is the direct object. In the second one, the gerund is the object of the preposition. So we're still doing sentences that you've done in chapters, 4 and 5. You're just combining them now with a little so. Moving on. All right. This is a little more complicated because you have this compound subject situation, but you also have those, they happen to be gerunds. So you're like swinging sword, shooting gun, and those are the skills, right? And then which skills? The skills displayed, and then displayed by whom? By John Wick. And then the next one is he prefers using a gun, and then what is he using it for? To vanquish his enemies. So the but is your coordinating conjunction here. Now with this next one, you can enjoy watching Keanu Reeves. So here we have another gerund acting as the direct object, or you can appreciate his acting, right? Another gerund is the direct object in his movies, and then which movies, other movies, and then the movies like Dracula or Destination Wedding. So it looks more complicated, but these are all things that you've been doing the entire time. The only new part here is this little step. And remember, dotted line, solid line, dotted line, and they go verb to verb, which is why your compound diagrams always are vertical. So they go down. Reeves portrayed Ted where, when. Now this is a semicolon. Now instead of a fanboy here, you just put a semicolon on the step. And then you're done, right? Same thing. You're just diagramming the sentence. This is a new thing that we haven't encountered before. If you've got a correlative happening, like both and, they're both working the same way as and. So what you do is you throw them both on here, like both and, because it's both and they're all part of the same compound subject in the sentence. Remember, compound subject and compound sentence are two very different things. You can have a compound subject. That just means you have two subjects within the same clause. You can have a compound object. You can have a compound verb, right? You can do all those things compound, meaning more than one. But a compound sentence only happens when you have two independent clauses, when you've got two main lines, right? Top sentence, second sentence. Oh, and the way you diagram is always the first sentence goes on top and the second sentence goes on the bottom. So you're literally just following word order. This is different than when you do dependent clauses, right? Because in a dependent clause situation, you always put the independent on top, regardless of where it occurs in the sentence. Where with the compound sentences, you always put your, whatever comes first goes first, whatever comes second goes second. Now, what do we do with the furthermore? You literally do the same thing, verb to verb. It just goes on a dotted line. So you treat it like an adverb dependent clause when you're, if you had like a because or a since or an until, it goes in the same spot, verb to verb on a dotted line. Now, often if you have a compound sentence, your dotted line will be diagonal just because you have to avoid this step. So a lot of times if you've got one of these consequently for, furthermore, however, you're going to end up with something that looks like a weird wannabe triangle situation because you'll have the step and then you will also have the diagonal. Now, what else? Oh, this is okay. When you have three clauses, of course, it's going to get long. So you've got Reeves was born, he moved, and he started to play hockey. So you've just got, just move them on down the page, but on a step and on a step. And then the last one, right, with the Neo. So Neo mastered rules. Now we do not have we don't have a semicolon and we don't have a an and up here. We just have a comma, so you literally put the comma there. So comma there, and then the next one. Oh, my screen isn't zoomed in properly on this image, so that's why these are supposed to be dashed. If you zoom in right now, you'll be able to see it. I don't want to zoom in on this video because then when I try to go back, it will bounce me out of this view. But just on your print, if you have the printed book, these are dotted lines. So you can see it here. I don't know why my resolution is being wonky. But basically, a compound sentence is going to have independent clauses. It will have at least two, might have more than two, and it will never have a dependent clause. And now you're ready to practice with exercise 7b. You made it through compound sentences.